Hi everyone, it's Alien Butler Blunders. Welcome back to another video today. Today I wanted to share with you some of the fantastic Batman comics I picked up over Christmas and I've read over the past few months. Um, so I think Batman is just a fantastic character to have for comic books. He's the perfect balance between relatable and superhuman and I like comic books where he's vulnerable. I like comic books where he's hurt and he's a real human being. The problem with the kind of Christian Bale Batman movie, in my opinion, is it's kind of I struggle to associate with him because he's a very refined person. He's a perfect Bruce Wayne is a very refined person. Batman is this perfect or near perfect superhero. So it's nice to have kind of a struggling, inexperienced superhero, in my opinion. That's why I thought like the Robert Pattinson recent movie, The Batman, that came out last year, was kind of much more in flavour of my favourite impression of Batman. That he's kind of aiming at greatness, but not quite there yet. So first off, I wanted to I'll talk about a range of comics in this video, but mainly I was just going to focus on the new one. So, Hush is a series that came out in the early 2000s. So it's by that author, Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee, and the Scott Williams there as well. So, it's about the relationship between Batman and Thomas Elliot, his kind of childhood friend, and who he is compared to Bruce Wayne, and their experiences. And it introduces a new supervillain as well called Hush. I won't give away too many details there, but it is just a fantastic story. It's really well grounded in Batman and Catwoman's relationship. There's some great character redesigns like Killer Croc. There's a plot that goes across several comic books, so it's the perfect balance between episodic and meaningful, because there's kind of Batman and Catwoman relationship kind of goes up and down a bit. Some nice Poison Ivy there, which is cool. So Batman regularly gets hurt in these comic books, which I like because he's he's not Superman. You know, he's grounded in the real world, and his life is difficult and he fights hard for a good cause, and I just find that that's great. And it's the kind of popular art style today of having kind of very detailed character designs. Older comic books are kind of a bit more stylized, and I don't know whether I prefer that, but it's just great. And it's the perfect balance between personal and kind of extreme plots. And there's a nice plot with Superman at the end, and I love it when Batman and Superman are done together. I think they're a really fantastic duo when they're done right, kind of a buddy cop thing sometimes, which is just fantastic. And anyway, so that's great. Part two goes into a bit more detail. I know this is a longer series, but I've only got and read part one and two. So this one focuses a bit more on Batman's apprentices. There's a bit of the Joker and Harley Quinn there, which is great. Bits of blood stuff, which is nice. It's nice to have comics explore kind of the more horrible side of violence as well, which is nice. Yeah, so this is mainly between the relationship between Batman and his apprentices. So there's Robin, who became Nightwing, which is cool, and there's Hush there, which is cool. So it's just good. Really nice. If I pick up more of this from this series, I will finish it. I know it's kind of a longer running series. The other one I got was this Batman and Huntress comic book, Cry for Blood. So these are all kind of early 2000s comic books. So this one focuses a lot more on the character of the Huntress and the Question. I only know of these characters from Justice League Unlimited, so it's really nice to get a comic book form rather than just an animated series form. And it's kind of compares her to Batman as a character. They have a tense relationship, and it talks about how she was originally like Batman's daughter in the like 70s and 80s, and they've kind of reimagined her as a reformed daughter of the mafia who's seeking vengeance and retribution. It's great kind of interpersonal stuff between Batman and his apprentices. There's lots of kind of Nightwing, kind of a grown-up Robin. Without spoiling too much, it's just great. There's a lovely kind of flirtatious relationship between the Question and the Huntress. So it's just great when comic books do relationships well. It's just really pleasant. And It's great. The end was a bit vague, and I'm not sure if they released more after this, but it's just fantastic. This is just a perfect example of how you get a more obscure character and make them real. So it's just brilliant, and it's grounded again in a relationship, as in these ones are grounded in Batman and Catwoman's relationship. This is grounded in Huntress and the Question's relationship. So it's just great. And Batman is a villain, like being on the receiving end of Batman sometimes is just really interesting. So yeah, those are three ones. I would recommend them. I just think they're great. I don't read too like modern Batman comics, so I'm not sure what the ones are like that have been out in the past few years, but I'll just talk about some of my old favourites I've got here. So this is Batman Year One by Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli, so which are kind of big names. And with this one, this is another early 2000s one. So with this one, this is much more about Commissioner Gordon and Batman's relationship in the early days. It's very much like the Batman with Robert Pattinson. It's kind of a young, inexperienced Batman in turmoil. I do actually kind of really like this art style. It's kind of sometimes nostalgia sepia kind of thing it goes for. I kind of love a more inexperienced Batman because he's aiming at perfection but not quite there. And he gets hurt a lot. As you see, he's been kind of shot there. And I just think that's great. Really great kind of femme fatales, kind of women who have the capacity to cause more problems and betrayed by the men he thought he could trust. And it's just great. It's just really, really good noir style narrative. There's this Batman Broken City by Brian Azzarello. So this one it's kind of more modern stylized. I kind of like it when there's less textures and more dark. I think that works really well for Batman as a style. This one is kind of like hushed. It's kind of a balance between the kind of crazy and the more grounded. I felt like this was a very, very grounded story about like the awful nature of crime and horrible doubt that Batman feels, and trying to find the truth and trying to search for the truth in a dark world, and this kind of underground Chinese mafia and stuff. So it's just great. Really, really cool. Really, really like that. So yeah, that was just excellent. Japanese, I should say. And so yeah, it's just really, really cool. More noir thriller. I am admittedly less keen on the kind of Tom King. Like a last fell over, ignore that. But I am less keen on this kind of Tom King style of narrative. I read a couple of these kind of Batman versus Bane comic books with kind of Batman's father, kind of Thomas Wayne thing, and I wasn't all for them, to be honest. I think that they do try and ground it in Batman and Catwoman's relationship, and it's quite kind of saucy at times, but I just thought the narrative was all over the place. They kind of do this dream sequence thing when you're not sure if the things are actually happening or not. They kind of point towards the Justice League, and there's some Superman and Wonder Woman cameos, but if I'm perfectly honest, I prefer Batman as a solo character without too much interaction with a larger league. So yeah, I'm less keen on this. It's kind of a bit scatty, all over the place narration. I don't like Batman as a perfect character. I like him as kind of much younger and more inexperienced. So but aiming at perfection. So I much more recommend this kind of more aged art style, but those are my opinions. So thanks for watching today, and I'm doing a similar video on Marvel comic books, so stay tuned for that because that'll come soon. So thanks very much for watching today.